Most people spend their lives working at things they secretly dislike, enduring the hours until they can escape into something they actually enjoy. They treat work as a sacrifice, as a necessary evil to earn money, and joy as something separate, something reserved for weekends or vacations. But the truth is, the most valuable work you can do, the work that will set you apart, is the work that feels like play to you and looks like work to others. That's not a motivational cliché, it's an economic reality. When something feels like play, you don't notice the hours passing. You don't need someone to motivate you. You don't have to push yourself with discipline every day, because your curiosity is the engine. You wake up thinking about it, you tinker with it when you're bored, you seek out ways to improve at it because you genuinely want to. This isn't forced, this isn't grinding. It's you moving in alignment with your nature. The problem is, most people have been trained to ignore these signals. We're told to chase stability, a good job, something that sounds respectable. We're told to treat our natural inclinations like hobbies at best and distractions at worst. So we bury the very things that could make us stand out. Here's why this is so powerful. When you love doing something, and most people don't, you enter a field with almost no competition. If you're the kind of person who loves analyzing complex systems in your free time, and most people find that exhausting, then you have a natural advantage. The hours you put in don't drain you, they energize you. That's unfair leverage in the marketplace. Over years, the compound interest of this enthusiasm turns into mastery, and mastery is something people will pay almost anything for. But to find this work, you need to pay attention to your genuine curiosity. Ask yourself, what do you naturally gravitate towards when nobody's watching? What topics make you forget to eat? What activities cause you to lose track of time? Your answers might seem strange, even impractical. That's fine. In the beginning, specific knowledge often looks useless to outsiders. The internet was once a toy. Cryptocurrency was once a nerd hobby. Storytelling, gaming, cooking, these were once just passions until people built entire empires around them. In a connected world, niches turn into markets faster than ever. This doesn't mean everything you love will make you rich, but it does mean your best chance at wealth, freedom, and fulfillment lies in merging what feels like play to you with what the world values. And remember, value isn't always obvious in the early stages. That's why you can't chase trends. You have to play your own game. If you pick something just because it's currently hot, you'll burn out the moment it gets hard. But if you choose something because you can't not do it, you'll push through years of difficulty, and that's when everyone else quits. The challenge is, most people give up on this search too early. They try a few things, feel like they're not instantly gifted, and retreat to something safe. But finding the thing that feels like play to you might take years of exploration. You might need to sample dozens of interests. You might even circle back to something you loved as a kid but abandoned because it wasn't practical. That's okay. Discovery is a process. The time spent exploring isn't wasted, it's training your instinct for what feels effortless to you and valuable to others. Once you find it, the work is still work. There will be moments of frustration, times you feel stuck, projects that don't pan out, but the baseline energy you bring to it will be different from someone forcing themselves through the motions. You'll have a bias for action. You'll notice details others miss. You'll improve faster because your learning is driven by fascination, not obligation, and because it looks like work to everyone else. They won't understand how you're doing so much of it, which only widens your lead. In the end, the most enviable position in life is being paid, often handsomely, to do something you'd gladly do for free. That's the sweet spot where your internal compass and the external world align. And once you reach that point, you no longer measure your life in time spent working and time off. It's all living, the boundaries blur. You're not escaping your work. You're expressing yourself through it. That's freedom, so ignore the noise telling you to fit into a mold. Stop looking for the safe, generic skills that everyone else is collecting. Instead, Get dangerously good at the thing you can't stop thinking about, the thing that feels like a game you were born to play. That's your unfair advantage, and in a world full of people grinding at things they hate, the one who plays will always win. The most valuable skills in life are not the ones you can learn from a standardized curriculum. They are not the ones that fit neatly into a certificate program or a degree. The world's most specific, high-leverage knowledge can't be mass-produced. It can't be packaged into a weekend workshop or downloaded as a checklist. You don't get it from being told what to do. You get it by building, experimenting, and refining through your own curiosity. This is what makes specific knowledge so rare. If it could be taught in a classroom, it would already be commoditized. Everyone would have it, and its value would drop to zero. That's why formal education, while useful for certain foundations, can only take you so far. At some point, you step into territory where there are no teachers, just you, your tools, and the problem in front of you. That's where specific knowledge is forged. Think of the skills that truly set people apart. Steve Jobs' eye for design, Elon Musk's systems thinking, Warren Buffett's pattern recognition in investments, J.K. Rowling's storytelling. None of those could be taught in a straightforward, mechanical way. You could read the same books they read, take the same courses they took, even study their methods, but you wouldn't get the same results. Why? Because their knowledge was shaped by years of exploration, mistakes, and personal insight. It was built, not handed down. The building process is messy. You'll try things that fail. You'll follow paths that lead nowhere. You'll spend days or months working on something, only to realize you have to start over. And that's exactly why most people never acquire specific knowledge. They can't stomach the uncertainty. They prefer to be given a map, to know in advance where each step leads. But the most valuable maps don't exist yet. You have to draw them yourself. This is also why copying someone else's path rarely works. You can't just mimic what another person did and expect to land in the same place. By the time you copy their moves, the landscape has changed. Their advantage came from the fact that they discovered something before everyone else did. If you want your own advantage, you have to discover your own thing by working on problems that interest you so deeply that you'll keep going even when there's no guaranteed payoff. And here's the paradox. The very act of building your own specific knowledge looks inefficient to the outside world. It doesn't follow a straight line. People may wonder why you're wasting time on things that don't look practical. But that wondering is part of the process. You're collecting mental models, developing instincts, seeing connections between unrelated fields. Those connections are where breakthroughs happen. When you build specific knowledge, you stop thinking in terms of what's on the test or what's required. Instead, you start asking, what am I curious about? What problem can I solve? What experiment can I run? This shift changes everything. You're no longer waiting for permission to learn. You're self-directed. And because you're solving real problems, not hypothetical exercises, your learning is deeper and sticks for life. No school could have trained Jeff Bezos to build Amazon exactly the way he did. There was no textbook for running an online bookstore in the early days of the internet. No university could have taught the first blockchain developers exactly how to design Bitcoin. These things were built by people operating in uncharted territory, learning as they went. They were guided by principles and mental models, but the specifics, the part that made them valuable, were created in real time. Another truth: the market doesn't care about how your knowledge was acquired. It doesn't matter if you have a degree in it or if you figured it out in your garage. The market only cares whether you can solve the problem. When you've built your knowledge through direct experience, you can solve problems in ways that people who've only studied them on paper can't. That's the difference between theory and mastery. So if you want specific knowledge, stop waiting for someone to hand it to you. Pick a problem that fascinates you, start working on it, and accept that most of what you do in the beginning won't work. That's normal. Every failure teaches you something no class could. Over time, those lessons pile up into insights you couldn't have gotten any other way, and those insights become your moat, the thing nobody can copy because they didn't live through your exact process. In the end, the reason specific knowledge is so powerful is because it's hard. 1. It's earned through trial, error, and persistence. You can't shortcut it, and you can't fake it, and once you have it, you're untouchable because no one else took the exact same path to get there. That path, your path, is what makes you irreplaceable. When you build specific knowledge, you create something that protects you and empowers you at the same time. It becomes both your shield and your sword in the marketplace. The shield is the part that defends you from being replaced, from being underpaid, from being at the mercy of trends and economic shifts. The sword is the part that lets you carve out new opportunities, take bold risks, and win in spaces others are afraid to enter. Most people walk into the marketplace unarmed. They have generic skills, the kind that millions of others can do. They compete for jobs where the main differentiator is cost, who will do it for less. That's a dangerous game because there's always someone somewhere willing to work cheaper, or some new piece of technology ready to do it faster. This is the race to the bottom, and it's a race you can't win for long. Specific knowledge is how you step off that track entirely. Your shield is built from rarity. If you have a skill or perspective that's genuinely hard to find, you're insulated from the kind of competition that drives most people's wages down. When you're one of the few people who can solve a particular type of problem, the world comes to you. They can't simply replace you with a cheaper option because the cheaper option doesn't exist. The shield is what gives you stability in an unstable world. You can survive downturns, shifts in technology, or industry disruptions because your value is rooted in something deeper than just showing up. But your knowledge is also your sword. It's what lets you strike into new territory before anyone else sees the opportunity. If you understand an emerging technology, a niche audience, or a complex problem better than almost anyone, you can create value in ways that outsiders can't even imagine. This is how startups are born. This is how books are written that define generations. This is how careers pivot into entirely new arenas before the rest of the market catches on. The sword is about offense, using what you know to shape the future instead of just reacting to it. One of the greatest advantages of specific knowledge is that it compounds over time. Every year you work in your area, your edge sharpens, your shield gets stronger, your sword gets sharper. And because the knowledge is so specific to you, forged by your unique experiences, insights, and connections, it's nearly impossible for someone else to replicate it exactly. They could follow your path for years and still miss the subtle things you've picked up along the way. That's the invisible layer of mastery. The instincts, the patterns you notice without consciously thinking, the confidence in making decisions others would hesitate over. The real beauty is that once you have both the shield and the sword, you're no longer operating from fear. You're not afraid to lose your job because you can create your own opportunities. You're not afraid of industry changes because you can adapt faster than most. You're not afraid to walk away from situations that don't serve you because you know your skills will open other doors. That's freedom, and it's a freedom most people never experience because they're too busy trying to play defense without ever learning how to attack. The marketplace rewards those who can both protect their position and advance it. If you only have a shield, you might survive, but you'll never grow. You'll be safe but stagnant, guarding the little you have. If you only have a sword, you might win some early battles, but you'll eventually burn out or be overtaken because you can't defend what you've built. The combination of both is what creates lasting success, and here's the thing, building this combination is a long game. You can't just decide one day to pick up a sword and shield and expect to master them instantly. You have to spend years sharpening your edge, learning the subtleties of your craft, and putting yourself in situations where you're tested. Every challenge you face is either reinforcing your defense or improving your attack. Every setback is an opportunity to refine your tools. Eventually, you reach a point where the marketplace feels different to you than it does to most people. Others are anxious about competition. You see opportunities to collaborate or lead. Others are worried about being replaced. You're thinking about the next big move. Others are waiting for permission to take action. You're already in motion. That's the difference specific knowledge makes. So, arm yourself in such a way that you're both untouchable and unstoppable. Let your shield be the rarity of your skill, your depth of insight, and the trust you've built in your field. Let your sword be your ability to see around corners, to create value before the world asks for it, to make bold moves that others hesitate to try. In the end, the people who thrive in the marketplace are the ones who can defend what they have while also building what comes next. That's the real power of specific knowledge. It makes you dangerous in the best possible way.